Welcome back, revelers. Again, it's Rob B with Off the Rails, Right versus Left. And we're continuing our series of interviews we're going to be doing going into the election with some of the alternative candidates that you don't really get to hear from because the mainstream media only wants to talk about the main Republican and Democrat candidates. In the current race for the Texas Senate, all we're hearing about is Senator Ted Cruz and Colin Allred, but there are three other candidates in that race that have already been approved by the Texas Board of Elections. And one of those is joining me now, write-in candidate Dr. Tracy Andrus. And Dr. Andrus, thank you for joining me here.
All right. Thank you, Brother Rob. Appreciate you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on your show here today.
Definitely. It's a pleasure to have you. And I just want to ask, do you want to tell people what you told me about your personal beliefs before we get started? Because it made me laugh and smile.
Absolutely. So which ones are you speaking of? I have a lot of personal beliefs. So tell me this refreshing.
Yeah. I just meant that you said that you weren't scared. You're a radical.
Oh, man, look, man, you have to read my background because listen, I don't back down. I'm a radical. There's no doubt about it. And I love what I do, and I stand for what I stand for. You know, I'm a radical. All right, well, but I'm a straight. Okay, and I'm
pretty fiery too, so this should be fun.
Hey, take off the gloves, man. Let's go.
Okay, so we're going to start off. Obviously, the number one issue is the economy, and I'm starting this off by pointing out something that's left out in all of the reporting about the economy, and that is with our inflation, it's actually outpacing the GDP growth by such a huge degree. It's hiding the fact that we've actually been in a recession since 2020. Absolutely. And the way I exemplify this, because it's kind of abstract information for the average voter, but if you sell $100 million worth of cars for $20,000 each, you sell 5,000 cars. But if you sell $100 million worth of cars and they're now $24,000 each, you're only selling 42,000 cars. Or 4,200, sorry. So that takes away 800 cars. So you now no longer need the labor to produce those cars. You don't need the labor to transport the cars. You don't need the labor to sell them. So the main point I want to make is, for all the ups and the downs, the economy is worse than it is. Our currency is inflated by like 33%. So the stock market being up 10% during Joe Biden means it's actually down 20%. Okay. So the economy is huge. So Mr. Andrus, what policies would you be supporting if you get into Congress, if you get into the Senate? What bills would you be proposing to help fix the economy?
Well, let me say that first of all, in the state of Texas, listen, what we're not talking about. First of all, inflation deals with supply and demand. You know, supply and demand, and what nobody's talking about. Ted Cruz is not doing it. Allred not doing it. I don't know if Ted or Lisa is doing it, but I can tell you this: every month in the United States, in Texas, we've had over 100,000 illegal immigrants come across the border, which means that we have to feed them, we have to take care of them with the medical, we have to, provide shelter for them. Nobody's talking. And then we talking about inflation. We talking about supply and demand. Listen, until we control the influx of immigrants, illegal immigrants coming across that border, we're going to have some problems. Then you have all these hurricanes, tornadoes, all of this. What we're doing is disrupting the supply chain. And we know during COVID, hell, the 2x4 went up from $3 or $4 to about $22 for one board. It's about supply and demand. And inflation, we're going to deal with inflation, but I don't believe that inflation is really as astronomical as some people try to make it seem. Because for me, it hadn't changed that much here in Texas. I still can go in the store and get me a can of poking beans for 89 cents or $1.09, depending on what brand you eat. But even with gas, right now, gas is $2.89 a gallon. So, when we talk about inflation, this is politics, in my opinion. at its best. So we have to find something to complain about. When the Democrats in power, the Republicans crying. When the Republicans in power, the Democrats crying. If the Libertarians get in power, we all gonna be crying. So look, inflation is inflation, man. Let's be realistic. Hell, I still, things have not changed. We still eating in Texas, and I'm sure most of the other folks are too.
Well, Dr. Andrus, I do have to make sure that I have my facts straight. I have you down here as being a Democrat write-in candidate, right?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay, I have to say that is the most common sense response I've ever heard out of a Democrat. So I appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much, Rob. Hey, look here, man. I tell folks I will break through party lines. I'm gonna tell the truth, just like with abortion. Every time I just come from Austin last week. People ask me, okay, how do you stand with Roe versus Wade? This is where I stand with it. If a woman,
well, hold on, we're gonna get there. I want to stick to the economy for a second.
All right. Well,
on the economy, we also have the issue. Well, the supplies that we're trying to buy with the money is going down. The amount of money that's in circulation has gone up precipitously, almost 40% under the tenure of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. So when there's more dollars chasing fewer products, that exacerbates the problem. So now I don't think that the Federal Reserve, if it even exists, should be directly controlled by the government. But do you think we need, in order to stabilize our economy permanently, instead of just accepting that, oh, it's going to go good and then go bad, doesn't have to be that way. What do you think we can do to more specifically rein in the missteps that are obvious on the part of the Federal Reserve?
Okay, now your missteps, according to what you just said, is that there's a lot of money in circulation and we don't have as many supplies, which means that, back to what I said, supply and demand is effect. Hey, if you have $100,000, man, and you've been used to paying $10,000 for a used vehicle, now all of a sudden you have 100,000. Well, if you had, let's say, 70,000, and you were paying 10,000 for a used vehicle, that's cool. But when you get up to 100,000, like as you stated, more money in the economy, that $10,000 car is not going to cost you about 15,000. And of course, we look at it as inflation. It is what it is. But I don't think that we can control the Federal Reserve to the point where it's going to reduce inflation as it stands right now. I just don't think that's going to happen. Because remember, in America, we print our own money. And
well, no, that's exactly what I'm referring to, is the printing of money.
Yeah.
So they've increased, like, say there is $30 trillion at the beginning of the Biden-Harris administration, in actual money. They just printed a bunch more. Now there's 45 trillion. Now I don't know the exact numbers. Because all they give you is the increase in circulation is up almost 50%. Exactly. So that means it, like, in the stock market, if a company has 10 million shares and they issue another 5 million in shares, the value of the outstanding shares goes down because there's still the same amount of company.
That's true. That's right. I agree. Okay.
So and that's where I think now part of that's, the government saying to spend the money they don't have, but how do we control the Federal Reserve, who's supposed to be independent, from doing things that are completely crazy, like trying to double our money supply, which makes it half as valuable and makes it so you only have half as much to spend, before you even get to the fact that there's less goods because there's more people trying to get it.
Well, Rob, we have to let's be honest here. Every 6 months, every 3 months, no more than a year will pass by before the Republicans and Democrats have to get into Washington, D.C., sit there overnight and talk about they have to pass a bill so that the government don't run out of money because the debt ceiling has reached this limit. And they go in and they vote and they, say, hey, if we don't pass this, then the UPS workers won't get paid. The military folk won't get paid. So we started printing more and more money, and that's what you're seeing. And the more money that's out there, let's be realistic, man. That's going to be a problem because when we have catastrophes like we just had, Milton and Helene, now Joe Biden today is talking about releasing like 350 million more dollars. This is just a never-ending story. We keep putting more and more money out, and the Republicans are saying that, look, We wasting money. We should be more conservative. And the liberals are saying, hey, we need this money in order for us to operate. And for me, once I become the senator of the United States, we will put some checks and balances in place, because some of this money is being wasted. Let's be honest.
Oh
Look at
yeah.
what the
Well,
government is
so
paying.
segueing off of that, one of the biggest expenditures, one of the biggest segments of our economy right now is healthcare, which you have everything ranging from it should be completely private with the government completely uninvolved, to we should have single payer healthcare, which of course I want to point out the current federal budget is 6.4 trillion. The expense on healthcare in this country as a whole is 4.3 trillion. So you're looking at pushing the federal budget up in excess of 10 trillion when we still only have 4 trillion in revenues. So that's kind of the framing for the healthcare situation. But 55% of Trump supporters and 76% of Harris supporters say that this is a huge issue. And we obviously have a problem with healthcare in this country. If you're
Man,
proposing
healthcare.
legislation, how do you propose we fix it?
Man, I propose that we listen. I propose, first of all, some folks need to go to jail. Hell, let's just be honest. Man, some of these hospitals are ripping the hell out of people. And let's just be honest. That's why right now they're talking about removing medical bills from your credit report, where it won't even affect your credit. You know why? Because it is ridiculous. You go to the hospital for one day and hell, you owe $100,000 the next day when you get out. If your medical condition didn't kill you, the bill that you get when in your mail down there get you bankrupt. Man, listen, it's out of control. I know people talk about Germany, the Scandinavian countries, Denmark, Finland, Sweden, but these people have great medical insurance and great coverages for their people, and they don't go through what we go through. Hell, in the United States, you're paying $40 for a bare aspirin in the hospital. When you look at your itemized statements and what they're charging us, it is ridiculous that living in an industrialized.
I can agree with that. I
Well,
do want to point out a couple things. I've been to 70 countries, and in most of the countries with socialized medicine,
Canada
if
is
you
one
get
of
sick, if you get sick, you're waiting months to get into the hospital because there's no doctors. There's no financial incentive to spend a quarter of your adult life to go into medicine to learn if you're not going to make any money. Like there's no financial incentive. So that's part of the problem. Another aspect, the reason why you don't see a broader ability to compete, you notice even the doctors that are out there with their own offices, they're connected to some hospital and some. So
absolutely.
we need to look at the reason why this is, and the reason why that's a problem is because the number one expense for doctors and hospitals is malpractice insurance.
Exactly.
Because every human being makes a mistake, but if a doctor misses by a millimeter in making a mistake, the hospital can be out $50 million. And so they have to insure against that. Well, if they have to pay a fortune for that, guess who's going to pay for that?
The patients.
Okay. And who has the highest malpractice insurance prices? Hospitals. Because who do they get? Primarily people that are emergent care. So they're already in a bad way. So there's more possibility for things to go down. So if we're gonna attack, would you support the idea of legislation for tort reform? Because generally speaking, members of Congress don't want to look at it because they're all lawyers.
Well, you have, of course, you're gonna have lobbyists that's gonna be just like in the state of Texas right now. Texas did something real bold when they
no wait, but did you notice what I said? 90% of the members of Congress and Senate are lawyers, and the biggest thing driving up health costs is lawsuits, and the lawyers don't want to stop the lawsuits.
Right,
seems like a little bit of a conflict of interest.
That interfere with their professions, of course. I'm not a lawyer, but I can tell you this: I'm a criminologist. And I got enough sense to know that, man, we have to put a cap on these medical malpractice suits. I understand, when somebody mess up and they're very irresponsible, of course, people should be compensated. But I think that there needs to be a cap because, as you stated, this is what we're looking at collateral consequences. When the hospital have to pay this humongous, fee for malpractice insurance, the patients are the ones paying for it. It's not the hospital because the hospital operates with money that they generate from their services. And we're the ones who go in, we're the patients who they provide service to. So at the end of the day, the collateral consequences are that we're going to be the ones paying for all this.
Right.
Okay?
Well, I mean, since you're seeking a seat in the Senate, like I think it's important that we frame the conversation and what's a bill you can put into effect that can help the problem, and that's the issue. They talk a lot about what the problems are. Okay, but what specific legislation? So that's one piece that we can agree on. And then the markets, the restricted markets. So, I mean, it sounds like you're in Texas, and you seem to be pretty much a believer in supply and demand and like market capital or capitalist markets, which means the number one thing that drives down price is an abundance of supply.
Absolutely.
So why on the federal level do we have insurance companies restricted to 1 or 2 states instead of having all 1,000 companies that provide health insurance competing across the entire country? And why are we using the Affordable Care Act to restrict the number of insurers there are out there competing across these states?
Well, of course, now there's 2 sides to that gamut because you have some insurance companies, they don't want to go to certain places like Louisiana. All of these insurance companies are pulling out because of the floods. Texas have.
I'm talking health insurance here. I'm talking health insurance.
But even with health insurance, you have certain insurance companies who don't want to be in certain places, like in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in the Cancer Triangle, where you have harmful chemicals coming out of these Exxon and Mobil and these different plants. Different companies, they don't want to insure people there because they know 65%
they can't.
of the residents will contact cancer.
But Dr. Andrus, they can't. That's why if you have Blue Cross Blue Shield, you look at your ID, you don't have Blue Cross Blue Shield, you have Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas or Blue Cross Blue Shield of Oklahoma. Because if these insurance companies want to insure people in a new state, they have to create a whole new company and create a whole separate set of operations, separate set of leaders. They have to reproduce everything as opposed to having one company being able to compete across states and just follow the regulations of those states. That's what I was referring to.
I would support legislation for any company to be competitive. Hell, you can have as many branches, as many subsidiaries as you want to, as long as you're being fair with the people. I believe that we should have a competitive market. That's what drives prices down. When you have supply and demand, if Walmart is the only store in your city, hell, they charge whatever they want. But when you have another Target and Costco and Lowe's and all these other companies come in, then you can start being competitive. But if somebody's running a monopoly, whether it's insurance or whatever, then they make their own prices because they control the market. And I'm not for that. I believe in competitive markets on anything. Right. Yes, sir.
So from here, of course, whether or not laws go through, a lot of it has to do with the courts. If you end up sitting in the Senate, you're going to have to make approvals on judicial nominees for federal courts and for the Supreme Court. So what is your view that your role as a senator is in the approval process?
Well, I would have to vet the candidates just like every other senator. We have to look at them, look at what they stand for. And listen, it's not so much whether or not you're a Democrat or a Republican, man. We're looking for honest people. I'm like Diogenes. I'm a stoic in a way. I just want you to be honest. I don't care if you're black, white, Republican, libertarian. I don't care who you are. We want honest people in Washington, D.C. that's going to take care of all the people in the right way. I know that we all have different beliefs, but I believe that, listen, we just have to have some honest folk. And for me, I would just have to vet a candidate out. And I'm going to tell you this, brother, Rob, because they don't need me to beat around the bush. I told you I'm radical too. that stunt that McConnell and them pulled on Barack Obama and telling him that he couldn't appoint a Supreme Court justice because he was nearing the end of his term, and then they turned right around with Trump and did exactly what they told Obama that they couldn't do. I don't like that. See,
okay,
me,
so okay, hold on. I just want to point out one thing. No matter who is in control of the Senate, if a vacancy comes up, if the president's party does not control the Senate, no matter what party that is, that judge does not get confirmed. It never happens. It's never happened. The Democrats block it when they're in control of the Senate, and there's a Republican. Yeah, they do.
If you pay close attention, you know good and well Obama.
Yeah, 23 times. 23 times Democrats have blocked Republican nominees for the bench.
Kavanaugh could not be confirmed because it was wrong. He knew that the election was coming up and that he was going to be out because his 8 years was up, and he needed to allow the new president to appoint someone. And then Trump.
Okay, so maybe the method that would be better here is instead of these executives trying to hammer down exactly what they want, work out a consensus pick that both sides can get. But I will point out again, Democrats have blocked Republican Supreme Court nominees something like 23 times, whereas Republicans have actually confirmed many. Look at how many judges they've confirmed under Joe Biden. Like, they will take them, but they reject judges on a case-by-case basis. Democrats reject judges if they were appointed by a Republican.
But listen, man, we're talking about the Supreme Court justice. I'm not talking about no federal.
I'm talking about the Supreme Court as well.
Supreme Court. And let me tell you this: if I was the president of the United States, and I know that we have a clause in the Constitution that's called
right, but you're running for Senate, so I'm asking your stance as a senator.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you, as a senator, I would support legislation that would allow the president to use his powers under the supremacy clause to change the number of justices in the Supreme Court. Yes, I would, and I wouldn't hesitate to do it.
So you would take the same course that every dictator's ever taken.
If that's what you want to call it, I would take the
same. No, I mean it is the
Republicans take. You know,
okay.
Listen, I'm not.
So how about if you don't like the way the Supreme Court's going, you win the election so you can appoint the new judges?
Then that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to appoint them.
Yeah, you don't need to change the number. What, packing the court?
Oh no, don't tell me.
Okay, hold on. No, wait. How many years was there a liberal Supreme Court?
It don't matter how many years.
How many years was there a liberal Supreme Court?
That's all. What matters to me.
How many years was there? This is an interview. Answer the question, please.
Not always 9 people, 9 justices.
How many years was there a liberal majority Supreme Court?
I have no idea.
75.
Okay, well, we're gonna make it 76. Well,
okay. But if we go with your theory, when there were Republican presidents, they could have just thrown 10 more justices on the Supreme Court and had it a conservative court. You don't do that because it just starts a tit for tat. Whoever's in power is just going to add more judges. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous solution. If you have a problem with the judge being suggested, you vote against the judge. And if you want to be proactive, you suggest obviously a conservative president is going to want a conservative person. So you suggest a conservative judge that's agreeable to you. You get what I'm saying? But this idea that we're going to change the rules to rig the game, it's intellectually dishonest, it's corrupt, and it leads to dictatorships.
I'm so glad you said that. Then you need to be talking to McConnell. You just what you said.
Oh, I don't like turkey neck. I never have. I'm not a Republican. I'm a libertarian.
So that you can win the game. Now you tell them.
He didn't change the ruls. He followed the same rules that he lied. He didn't change the rules.
He told Obama he couldn't do it.
He did not change the rules. He followed the
and admitted out of his own mouth that he was lying and he was wrong. Come on, man. Back it up.
The Senate, hold on. The Senate has never confirmed a Supreme Court justice that was suggested by the opposing party if they did not control the Senate. So if Republicans controlled the Senate, they have never confirmed a Democrat Supreme Court nomination. if the Democrats controlled the Senate,
I'm not talking about
they have never confirmed.
I'm talking about utilizing trickery to get your way, and that's what I'm talking about.
No, trickery is whining about the process that works
he lied
because you lost.
He lied. He told Obama, "You have 3 months left. You cannot appoint a Supreme Court justice. It's not right. You let the American
right, because if Democrats are in control of the Senate, hold on.
When Trump was headed by Trump,
every time, okay,
he appointed somebody.
Every time Democrats are hold on.
Can't go
every time Democrats are in control of the Senate and a Republican wants to appoint a judge at the end of their term, the Democrats block it. Okay? This is not Mitch McConnell came up with something new. For the entire history of the country, if you don't control the presidency and the Senate, you are not getting your judge confirmed for the Supreme Court. That has been the way. That is the reason why for 75 years we had a liberal Supreme Court. Because Republicans could not get control of the Senate and the presidency.
And we still didn't get Kavanaugh, the person that we wanted in there, because McConnell said, and he tried to play on the sympathy of the people. Oh, they're going to be upset because, your term is ended. Man, look, I'm just telling you right now, I'm a radical.
What are you talking about, Kavanaugh? Kavanaugh is on the Supreme Court.
I'm talking about the one that Obama was trying to appoint, who McConnell said he could not appoint. That's what I'm talking about.
Who was that? Mayorkas. No. Gorsuch. No, what is his name?
I don't know.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
The guy who's now like Department of Homeland Security or something. Or
Mayorkas.
No, it's not Mayorkas. No, it's
yeah. But
I know who you're talking about. Yeah. But my point is allowing Obama to appoint him would be what was different in history. Okay? Because no president at the end of his term is able to appoint a judge if he does not control the. Hold on.
Obama.
Okay. I'm not going to let you be dishonest about this one.
No. I'm not going to let you tell me either. Yeah, now
historical fact. There has never been a time that a Republican has had a chance to appoint a justice for the Supreme Court when the Democrats controlled the Senate that they have been able to put that through. Ever. So you can't expect the Republicans to put through a Democrat nominee when the Republicans control the Senate. It's never happened in our history, and it's never happened in our history. It's never happened.
They didn't control the Senate at the time. I'm telling you.
It's never the Republicans controlled the Senate. That's how they blocked it. It's never happened in history. You have to have 60 seats.
Do your homework. They did control the Senate and the presidency, and McConnell started crying, talking about
he lost. Obama lost the Senate and the House.
And Obama was so passive that he allowed that to happen. See, that's what
Obama lost the Senate and the House because his policies were so bad.
You got to be able to, you got to make decisions. You got to move, because if not, it's going to be a problem. Okay.
Okay. So we got your rule on the Supreme Court appointments. You didn't win, so you want to cheat and change the rules. Okay, got it. Absolutely. So foreign policy. How do you feel about being involved with other nations?
How do I feel about diplomacy?
The foreign policy, our involvement with other countries.
That we should have our allies and we should work with them to the best of our ability. But I believe that when our allies mess up and they do some things that's not right, then hell, you pull back. Cause I don't believe in sending folk across seas to die for folks who intentionally did things that they were not supposed to do. Now, if you engage in conflict with your neighbors in Russia and everywhere else, hell, if you pick the war, then you ought to be able to fight the war. I don't think the United States, and I believe that there are some Republicans who will agree with me. We're not the world police. We can't go everywhere and put our people in harm's way because another country decide, they want to attack somebody. We can't do that.
Yeah, and I want to point out some hypocrisy here. Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, there's the war in Ukraine, which the U.S. actually started. If we had stayed out of Georgia and Ukraine entirely, that war never would have started.
Now that part I don't know about that one. I
know Kamala Harris went to the European Security Summit, told Putin that Ukraine is going to be a member of NATO, and 3 weeks later, Putin invaded. He's always said it was a red line. If we had left him alone and not tried to make him a guarantee that we made 70 years ago that we weren't going to try and pick up the Soviet nations
So
states as part of NATO.
Hold on 1 second. You say Kamala Harris went over
Kamala
Harris
told Putin that Ukraine is going to join NATO.
The vice president of the United States told the Russian president that Ukraine was going to be a part of NATO. So that's the reason why this war started. Come on now.
That's Rob. A big part of it.
You know better.
Really? So when Crimea got invaded, who was the president?
When Crimea got, I don't know who the president did.
Obama. When they originally invaded Ukraine.
So
hold on.
When Trump was president, since you know all that.
When Trump was president, there was no battles inside Ukraine. He did not invade.
But were there battles? Were there other wars that started under Trump's presidency?
No, none. Not one.
Not one. Okay.
Please cite one that was. Cite one that started.
I'm gonna fact check you on that one.
Okay. So, Syria started under Obama. Obama kept putting up the red lines. ISIS formed under the withdrawal policies of Iraq. We saw the withdrawal policies under Biden in Afghanistan. The Taliban's back in control, and women are sent back to the first century.
So who was the president before Biden was the president?
Trump.
Okay, so there was no war going on under Trump.
I said he didn't start any wars.
So you say?
What war did he start?
I don't know. I'm just fact checking because you just said that.
Biden, okay. What wars are there? I mean, you're going to be in the Senate. I assume you know what conflicts are going on around the world. What conflict started under Trump?
What conflict going on right now? Okay.
So it's very literally like, as a human being, I think Trump is kind of a pig. The only time I've seen him show impressive character is when he was shot in the ear and stood up and pumped his fist. That was the first time in my entire life I've seen Trump show character. Outside of that, you cannot debate the fact that the world was more stable. And maybe it was just because they thought he was crazy and they didn't want to start anything with him in office, but no new war started under him. However, under Obama, Syria broke out, ISIS was formed, the Islamic summer that led to a bunch of governments getting overthrown for Islamist governments happened, Libya happened, and even going back to George Bush had the same kind of meddle and everything policies, and they Russia invaded Georgia during his reign. And then Russia invaded Ukraine under Obama, and then they invaded Ukraine again under Biden. Okay. So now my viewpoint is on foreign policy. Trump was pretty good. Hey, if you need to defend yourself, we're going to sell you what you need to defend yourself, but you're defending yourself. That was his policy. On the flip side, in the Middle East, he said, hey, Israel has the right to defend themselves. We're going to give them the weapons. We're going to sell them the weapons that they need to defend themselves. If you attack them, we're going to let them do whatever they need to defend themselves. Nobody attacked them. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
So what was our role under Trump? And mind you, it's I don't agree with everything that Trump did. I think he violated the Constitution on a couple different things. But every president's under Second Amendment, every president has violated the Constitution. So I have my issues with him. Reagan, I think, was the best president. I have my issues with him because he did the same thing. So, but when it comes to the foreign policy, I think Congress needs to be more impactful with the fact that the president is supposed to be setting policy, not making military decisions. That's the role of the Congress.
Okay.
And the war powers need to be drawn down. And if a president's not going to follow them, he needs to be impeached and tossed out of office. Because we've had 8 different presidents drop bombs on countries that we're not at war with, and that the Senate has not, or Congress has not confirmed a war stance with. You follow what I'm saying?
I'm listening to what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm listening to what you're saying. I was fact checking you on Trump. They say that there were some conflicts going on, but he didn't start them.
Yeah, he didn't start. Nothing new started under him, and most of them wind down.
Well, I gotta give a man credit for that.
And the man was not this big Russia booster that everybody says he was. He put more sanctions on Russia than any other president, but I don't think that's our role because we were too involved. We were never supposed to be involved there, and that's why Russia was doing what they were doing. But at the same time, um, since he took those actions, he still identified, okay, this is our adversary. But then when you get to Syria and they're trying to beat ISIS there, well, we had no business being involved in their civil war. It's none of our business. But when it came to fighting ISIS, that threatens our people that are stationed over there. So, yeah, working with Russia to take out ISIS absolutely was the right call. But he stayed out of the civil war, which was the right call. And Putin should have done the same. But you see what I'm saying?
I do
But
believe that Trump and Putin, they have a relationship.
There's nothing wrong with having relationships with foreign leaders.
Well, no, I believe this is beyond just a normal relationship. I do believe that Russia did everything they could to try to help Trump win the presidency in the United States. I believe that they rigged things, and I know that there are some facts.
Yeah. Okay. So you need. So on that one, I suggest you look up a little bit more on that. The whole Russian collusion thing was actually an op-ed from a Russian spy paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign and then pushed by Democrats for 4 years. So make sure you do your research on that before you make that claim.
Hillary Clinton did that, and okay, I see.
No, she paid for the Steele dossier, which is where all of that originated. And before that, they tried reporting the connection to Alpha Bank because at some point Trump was looking at doing the Miss World or whatever it was that he owned a part of over there, and he was looking at building a Trump Tower over there, like he's done in 50 other countries. The man's an international businessman. Yeah, but by virtue of the fact that he was in Russia, they tried to say that he was connected to Alpha Bank, which was completely false and also made up by the Hillary Clinton campaign to try and besmirch him as being a part of a Putin plan.
So I guess he didn't send no COVID supplies to Putin either, right? Since you're saying none of that other stuff happened.
Okay, how much COVID supplies did Biden send to other countries?
Putin said himself that Trump sent some COVID supplies.
Billions.
I don't know, but I'm saying this. This is beyond just friendship.
Okay. So
I believe that there's a big conspiracy between Russia. Even right now, I believe the Russians are going to do what they can to try to wreak havoc on our election come November the 5th. And they have operatives, in my opinion, that's already at work trying to.
Okay, hold on. So let me ask you a question. Who do you think Russia would rather have? The person who told them you better not do shit or else.
Man, Trump just full of.
No, stop.
Come on, okay, come on now, Rob. Man, come on now. I thought you was a little bit fairer than this.
Okay, no. Just listen.
They're gonna build a wall. That man said, "The hell if we will," and Trump ain't did nothing about it. Come on. So
are you talking about the wall? The wall that the Democrats sued and fought for 4 years?
That he lied to the American people.
No, the Democrats fought and sued for 4 years.
Man lied, told them.
Democrats fought and no. Okay, if you're gonna repeat the mainstream media lies, there's no reason for me to have you because they're already doing that.
What do you mean mainstream, man? So the CNN.
Okay, hold on. So you mentioned the wall. Why did Trump not build the wall?
Well, Trump lied. That's why.
He didn't. He started building the no, stop. He started building the wall, and then he was sued by Democrats over and over and over to stop the government from building the wall. Wait, stop. I'm gonna finish. Hey, you can go on any other show and lie, but you're not.
Yeah, come on. Okay, I can't you don't like the truth, huh? Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Well, it looks like I lost my connection. I'm gonna wait here for a second. Hopefully, it gets back on. Um, but while he's off here, I'm gonna reiterate that Donald Trump immediately began trying to build the border wall. He was immediately sued by leftist groups in order to stop the construction of the border wall. It went on nonstop. He finally got the final Supreme Court approval to use the Army Corps of Engineer funds to build the wall because it's a reasonable defense of our nation. The Democrats fought it for 4 years and then tried to say he lied when he said he was going to build it. Now, as far as making Mexico paid for it, he increased the taxes on all the remittances that go back to Mexico. That money has long since surpassed what it would have costed to build the wall if he had actually been able to finish it. They had all the materials. The wall could have been completed. It was just never completed because Biden and Harris stopped building it and they left the materials to rot. Anyways, hopefully we'll be able to get back in here and